Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Leadership Conversations podcast. I'm Jono White, founder and principal consultant of Clarity. My passion is to invest in people like you to become the very best leaders that you can be. And so I believe today's episode is really going to be an investment in your leadership. I'm excited for today's guest. Enjoy. It's episode 1. Welcome to Leadership Conversations, and I'm very excited to introduce our listeners and those who are watching to Dr. Vipul Saxena. Vipul, could you just start by letting us know where you're based and what your current role is with your organization?
All right. Namaskar and good morning to everybody. I am Dr. Vipul Saxena. I'm based at Mumbai, India, and working for an organization which is into manufacturing. And my role is basically I'm basically a people's leader, HR leader, and handling blue collar and white collar employees across my group in India and abroad. And basically, I
Yep.
take care of people, and people take care of my organization and my customers.
Yeah, excellent. I love that. And just for context, particularly for those like myself outside of India who aren't as familiar with your organization, what's the how many locations around the world? How many employees in your organization, Vipul?
Yeah, so we have got about 5 units and total about 20,000 people of all cadre. And we are basically located in India as well as US and other countries. And we are mainly exporter of yarn.
Fantastic. Well,
And,
I
and
can't wait. Sorry, you keep going.
yeah, continue.
I'm
So
so
I
excited to be
operate from
chatting with
Mumbai.
you.
Yeah,
You operate from Mumbai. Sorry, what were you saying? I'm just the delay meant
yeah.
I
I operate
jumped
from
in.
Mumbai. Yeah, I operate from Mumbai, and as and when there's a requirement, I visit the plants and all the locations and play my role. We have a very good team at all the units who work under my guidance for this particular role, which has been, for last 21 years in various companies.
Excellent. Well, to start us off, because the whole idea of the Leadership Conversations podcast is to get to know the leader, someone like yourself in such a significant role. Also, just a thank you for doing the 7 questions on leadership, and I really appreciated your answers and your thoughts on that. So that's also there for any listeners to access if they just look up 7 questions with Vipul, Vipul. That will bring it up. Consult Clarity in Google, and they can have a read over that as well. But what we didn't get to delve into as much in that, and that's why I invited you on the podcast, is to know a little bit more of your story and to dig a bit deeper into some of the things you're so passionate about as a leader. So to start us off, it would be great to get to know a bit of your story, the story of Vipul becoming the leader that you are today. And you can go as far back as you want because it's really significant
All right.
and it's lovely to hear the story. So yeah, tell us a little bit of your story, Vipul.
Okay, John. So it goes back in years 70s, 1970s. I was born in 1964, and at the age of 17, 17, when I was in NCC, which is basically a organization which prepares students and motivate them to join armed forces. And I was into the aviation wing of that corps, and I was lucky enough to, come in contact with our leader, squadron leader Harjit Singh Sahni. Though I was quite a timid guy at that time, and English was a foreign language for me. I mean, we used to study in Hindi, we used to talk in Hindi. Our mother tongue is Hindi. So somehow he found some spark in me that I can make it to a defense leader and I can make it to a pilot. So he once counseled me, he spoke to me, and he said that you have some potential, but you have to sharpen up those under some leader. So I said, sir, I'll be more than happy if you could guide me. And from there, the story starts. And believe you me, under his guidance, it was so, comprehensive. It was so personalized that I could made my career as a defense pilot. I was a combat pilot in defense for 15 years. Uh, Around that time only, I also happened to meet my another teacher through my mother. I was into spirituality from beginning. My mother was a very spiritual person, so she put me into spirituality from very beginning. And around same time, when I was 17, she introduced to me to another spiritual guru who took me through the spirituality line. And now, when I have studied the human psychology and I'm HR leader, I realize that these two teachers had put a foundation of two type of empathy, which are very very important for a leader. One was cognitive empathy, which gives you capability to identify potential in an individual to make some a good leadership career. And another, what I got from my spiritual leader was basically God fearing approach, where whenever you act or whenever you react to a situation or whenever you deal with a person, you put yourself in his shoe and think that if somebody responds to me like this, how would I feel? So these two things, this is called emotional empathy. So these two aspects, I think, were laid in my personality much before I think probably anybody was so lucky about. From there, the journey started, and that helped me so much that as a defense leader, I was very successful commander, and I
Yeah.
could lead my team to a great extent. We fought a lot of actions, and after working for 15 years, I came out to my civil career when I transited from defense career to corporate career, which are purely human resource career. And there also I found that a good leader, if he is empathetic, I think he can build very good teams. He can build synergy in the team very fast, and he can lead the team very very effectively without being a ringmaster. The times of ringmaster is gone. Now time of leading people by example. What you
Yes.
want your people to be, you have to exhibit in your actions. You want your people to be honest, you have to be honest. You want your people to be, taking risk, you have to take risk. You want your people to be a good communicator, or very very dedicated, you have to be dedicated. Now times are like this. Times
Yes.
before 70 was like a ringmaster. Leader says and you have to do it. Those times have gone.
Yes.
So this is the transition which I have seen in my life. So ultimately, what it leads to? It leads to the engagement of employee, and
Yes.
that comes through when you treat employees well. They reach to a mental state where their personal needs are taken care of, and they fully dedicated to the organization goal. And that's the actual engagement, which varies from people to people, location to location, and situation to situation. And I think I have observed and I have understood this concept quite in detail and used it for benefit of employees as well as for the organization. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and the story of Vipul, the fighter pilot, which which is just amazing. Actually, when you mentioned that, I wanted to know what leadership lessons did you learn from your time as a pilot?
See, the task there was a different kind of task. When it comes to the flying role, it was my individual role. Whatever I do with the aircraft will respond to the situation. But
Yes.
before I actually go for my mission, there are a lot of preparation go on, where there are people who maintain my aircraft, where there are people who ensure my safety, there are people who ensure the right communication, there are people who ensure that the armament which I am carrying is really live and available.
Yeah.
So if I did not have a good team working, with me, I'm sure I would not have been successful. Even the mission which I've carried out would not have been successful. So even then, I dealt with different kind of people, people from maintenance side, people from armament side, people from communication side, people from safety side, and they all have different personalities. They all have different roles, and to put all of them together as a synergic team was my role. How to ensure that they all work together as one team for a common goal. So there also I found that the empathy, a personal connect with the people plays very very important role. You have to know your people, what professional hurdles, what professional challenges they're facing, what's happening to their personal lives, you even have to know. And many a times during my defense career I found uh, the performance of people affected because of their personal challenges which they're facing. And once we address them, automatically they come back to their performance levels.
Yeah, I think that the personal challenges people are facing can have a massive difference on how they lead. What is your, there might be leaders out there listening who have someone on their team who's going through a really tough time. I know recently I was chatting with a leader who had a person on their team who had a very hard background, upbringing, and was going through a very hard family situation. And they were trying
Right.
to work out how to balance being compassionate with also holding them accountable. What advice would you give a leader like that who's trying to work out how to lead well when they have someone going through a personal challenge?
See, globally, if you look at the HR practices and people practices, really took momentum from the year 1980s and 1990s, I would say. Before that, though things were happening, naturally, but conceptually, the work-life balance, okay, those things came much later as a theory. But even then, if somebody is happy at home, his performance definitely is better here. Okay, if somebody's health is good, he performs better. So these concepts people were observing, but these were never taught as a academics, right? So after 80s or 90s, I would say 90s, I would say to be more accurate, from the year 90s, these concepts came in people dealing, where work-life balance and impact of personal life or professional life an individual going through in terms of challenges has impact on performance. That was realized very very clearly. I would quote one example.
Yes.
When I was working with one of the corporate after leaving defense forces, uh, there was one person whose proposal came to me from his unit head for suspension for some time, and then if needed termination from the services. I happened to go through his file, and I found that for last 2 consecutive years he was a star performer. So I asked his supervisor. I said, "How come a person whom you recommended as a star performer for last 2 consecutive years, and now you are saying he should be suspended?" I said, "There is something wrong, something amiss somewhere." But what happens is, on the shop floor in the manufacturing space, so much of pressure is there. Uh, Sometimes supervisor don't have time to really go through this kind of details.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he said, I don't know. As a professional, I have worked very hard with him to see that he performs what he was performing, but somehow he's not responding, and I cannot go on wasting my raw material and loss to the company. So then I thought, let me have a session with him and let me understand what's going on. And I had about 2 or 3 sessions with him, made him comfortable to speak about, because I was a group HR head and he was just a operator.
Yes.
So after 2 sessions, when I gave him confidence that he can share with me his personal details and it will be confidential, and I am rather here to help him out than making mockery out of his personal challenge that is going on. So he shared with me that last year he was married, and thereafter somehow because of some conflict between his parents and his wife's parents. There are a lot of conflict among the between the families, and that's
Yeah.
disturbed the peace in the marital life. And both the parents are not ready to compromise, and that is disturbing the boy as well as his girl. And 6 months ago, the parent, this young couple is blessed with a daughter, and the boy unable to go to village to see his daughter because parents are not matching. So, fortunately, this boy's father was also a retired defense personnel. So, I spoke to his father. I said, "Your son is in a very bad state, and I would like you to meet me." So, I called his father and I told this boy, "You go home. I'll take care of his father," because I had confidence. I am also defense personnel. I'll be able to convince him. So, I
Yeah.
sent this boy home. I said, "Go and meet your wife, meet your daughter, and prepare to come back with your family." So now his father came and he kept waiting for me. I said, let him go through some pressure. So when he became restless, then I called him. I said, tell me what's happening. So then he says, no, no, his parents are bad, these are bad, all that story you start telling me. I said, that is between you and his parents. Why it is affecting your son's performance? Then I shown him what your son was doing and what he is doing now. I said, he's on the verge of losing job. Would you like to do that? So I said, no, no, sir, I don't want my son to lose job. He's doing very well, and I'm proud of it.
Mm.
So I said, if you're proud
Mm.
of it, from today, you close this chapter. No conflicts, and that will give happiness in even in your family, because I'm sure because of this, even these two families are also disturbed. Believe you me, that works so well. Then he says, "Where is my son?" I said, "I'll send your son." His son is already with his wife. He said, "What? I came to meet him." I said, "Now you go to his in-laws' place, go and meet your son, meet your daughter-in-law, and your
Yep.
granddaughter." So when that guy came back, within 15 days, believe me, John, his performance was back there. So I've seen this kind of examples live in my life.
Yes. That's
So
incredible.
leadership,
Wow.
leadership can play such a miraculous role, which I've seen.
Mm. I'm amazed. I think that's an amazing story that you would um, care so deeply to get so involved, and I think the fact that that person turned around their performance is, yeah, it's a great example of how that personal challenge was the only limiting factor. It's the same person, same
Right.
abilities, same skills. That's really interesting
Absolutely.
and thought provoking. Um, so for you, Vipul, I'm interested to know, as you look back on your leadership so far, and we will get into talking about HR and how you ended up there soon, but um, I would just wonder if there are any really important moments that come to mind in your formation as a leader. If you look back at your time growing as a leader, maybe from your time in defense, maybe from your time in corporate, were there any moments that come to mind that were really important in shaping you as the leader that you are today?
Right. So I'll again go back to year 1993, I think. That
Yep.
time I was leading air operations in Somalia under a UN mission. And geographically, if you know Somalia, the coastline is such that they have very strong winds. And time had come where we had to, go for a mission where these militants were creating a lot of havoc, and we had lost a couple of soldiers. And winds were definitely against. And though I had already finished my flying in the morning and I was slotted for another sortie in the evening, and but this sortie was very important. And somehow most of the pilots, they felt that it was not safe. Even the safety advisor who was to ensure the flying is going to be safe, he said that winds are very strong, and could be a big challenge. So at that
Yep.
point of time, our military commander, who was commanding the complete, the battalion or division, I would say, different units, he somehow had faith in me, and he says that, Vipul, why don't you try? And I think it was a big challenge to me. I said, I will let me try. And it so happened that I took that challenge, and it worked out well, and mission completed very, very successfully. So again, as a leader, you have to know who is where, and without uh, I would say pinpointing somebody's shortcomings, you should be able to use the strength of your employees or your teammates. That is very, very important aspect in a leader, that instead of telling you are bad in this, you are bad in that, instead of that, what leader must do, and what I have learned from that lesson, is that I always look for what is the strength of my teammate. Accordingly, I deploy them for whatever task it is. But yes, I go one step further. So when I see this person has this part of weakness, instead of calling it weakness, I call it an area of improvement. So I counsel him. I see that he is given training on those parts. I support him and try to see that those parts also come up. So ultimately, he also becomes a complete personality. So I think this is a
Yes.
very, very important thing as a leader, that your first attempt should be identify whose strengths are what, use those strengths instead of looking at negative points. But very, very subtly, you must also work to help that guy to improve upon his area of improvement, to make him a complete personality.
Yeah. What advice would you give for identifying strengths in your team members or in your employees?
Say again, what
How
advice?
how would you, how do you yeah, what advice? How do you find strengths? How do you see the strengths in the people that you're working with or leading?
See, it's one very important thing which I always feel, that if somebody is academically strong, if somebody is really very, very clear fundamentally, okay, I feel that person can be groomed to a level where he's destined to, or where you want to him. Okay, because once you are in job, it's not time to teach you academic things and teach you the fundamentals and principles of various aspects of your profession. So
Yes.
what I generally observe, that mostly those who are very strong academically, okay, in terms of knowing the principles, knowing the fundamentals, knowing the concepts, they they get groomed, or they grow much faster than people who have this gap. And that is why, what I do is that, if you see my profile till this year, okay, till this year 2021, there is no year where I have not studied. There is no year where I have not studied. And this culture I carry forward whichever organization I go. I make the organization a learning organization. I
Yeah.
when I join, within 6 months, I scan through the profile of various employees, see the potential candidates, which candidate can grow in their profession. I take personal session with them along with their the supervisor, and
Mhm.
give them a guideline that you must do this qualification, you must pick up this qualification if you
Yes.
are looking to make this career. And I
Mm.
can give you example, John. At least
Yep.
there are 8 to 9 people across my 21 years of career in corporate, who, when I joined the organization, they were basically, peon, the person who serves the tea and all that. Okay,
Yes.
they were
Mhm.
that level employee. Okay,
Mm.
but since I found them some potential in them, I found them some light in them. I guided them. In some of the such employee, I even financed their education. I said, you don't have fees, take this money, but get admission. Okay, and today they're working as a manager, doing so well. So
Wow.
this is how I go about finding out strength and grow people.
I I really like the simplicity of that approach because it's about seeing the people who have potential in them and then giving them a very clear way to actually go and learn, get some qualifications, so that it's a pathway for them to know how to move forward. Um, that's Yeah, I really love that, Vipul. I think it brings us to talk about HR. So I'm interested to know for you, what was it that drew you to HR?
Mm, see, human resource. I mean, you have to be first a human being, a person. Okay, a person uh, who treats people equally. Okay, without any kind of discrimination of caste, creed, or color or whatever,
Yes.
and somebody who is God fearing, and thirdly, somebody who takes or reacts to a situation or responds to a situation, considering him that how would have been if he was on receiving end. These three arms make a lot of difference for every HR person. If you take care of this part, I'm sure you can manage people well.
And what is it about managing people well that's so significant?
Say again.
What is it about managing people well that's so important? Why is that so important to you? Why are you so
Because
passionate about that?
see, right, yeah, it's a very good question, John. Uh, if you see the management philosophy till 1970s, it used to be productivity, produce material, produce. Okay, so the whole focus was on productivity, right?
Yeah.
Then time changed because world was growing, population was growing, so other competitors came in. So then quality came in. No, his item is not good. This item is good. So the
Yes.
philosophy changed to quality. So they said quality, 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 right? And quality was connected to what? Customer satisfaction. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you certify customer, you are leader of the market. Okay,
Yeah.
but now in last I would say 20 years from 2000 onwards, the philosophy has changed. They say if your people are happy, they will take care of customer, they'll take care of quality, they'll take care of your productivity as well. Okay, so the total management philosophy has evolved like this over last 30 years, 30 40 years. So later but not late, it is the people who ensure whether you are growing a business or whether you're a market leader or what. So if you don't handle people well, okay, if you do not have a strong HR person, if you don't have a strong HR team who really takes care of people, their well-being, their engagement, okay, no organization can survive. Even during COVID, all the organization who have taken care of their employees, they are doing well even today. So people are the center of the organization currently.
Yes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I know you've already articulated this a little bit, but how, once again, for leaders who are listening who don't have experience in HR, maybe their real strength is a skill in their industry, such as they're
Right,
an academic who's become the head of a
right,
university, vice chancellor, or they might be
right,
a sales person with a real strength in accounts, account management and growth, who's become the CEO of a large organization or a small business. How do we take care of our people? I think a lot of, and let me add, I think a lot of leaders are afraid of losing productivity and quality because they get too soft on their people. How do you take care of your people so that, like you said, they are the center of what you do and produce quality and productivity?
See, I think in the current scenario, as I said, that the times of ringmaster style of management is gone. It was till 70s. The leader used to be like ringmaster, do this, and person does this. But now times have changed where you have to deal with your employees as a human being first. So that human touch in all your actions, in all your, whether you call it instruction, whether you call it directions, or whether you call it a task given to a person. So I think somewhere I feel that to be a successful leader, whether you are an engineer, okay, you may be chief engineer, or like you already said, you may be vice chancellor, okay, or you may be a chief doctor, okay, but you cannot be successful unless you are a good HR manager. You have to know people skill. You have to have people skill, how to deal with the people, and when you deal with the people, more than what you can teach him in his profession, because you are not HR qualified, so you'll not be able to teach somebody how to make payroll or how to make performance appraisals. But yes,
Yes.
two things you can always do to every individual: the human touch, and that is empathy, which is very
Yes.
very important. And second thing is taking care of the well-being of your employee. Two things: anybody, you may belong to any domain, any trade. The two things, these are basically human aspect. You do this, I can assure you that you'll be able to handle people.
So tell me about empathy. How can someone who's not good at empathy naturally, like there might be a leader, I know some leaders who are very smart, they struggle with empathy. So for someone who struggles with empathy, how can you get better at being more, at having more empathy for the people you lead?
Yeah. So it's a individual challenge. If somebody does not have is hardcore leader. There are people who are professionally very good, but they don't have the skills, people skill, and they fail.
Mm,
So
yeah.
for that, I think they, because all those who are growing in career, John, they all are the people who believe in continuous learning. Okay,
Yes.
so what they should do is that along with their continuous learning agenda into their own domain, I think they must also include the people skill as learning objective for their own career. So once they have this part are also growing into their leadership, I'm sure they will be able to make a good leader.
So it's a skill like any other that you can learn and that you can grow in.
Just repeat again.
You're saying people skills is something that anyone can learn. Any leader can learn people skills.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Uh,
I mean, today
what
so much of
resources?
learning is available. Sorry, what resources?
What resources? Yeah. What have you found helpful? What would you recommend?
Mm, I think more it goes into uh, transforming your own personality. Okay, see how people grow into their domain, because they do a study. Okay, I want to reach this level. Today I'm here. If I have to reach this level, this is my gap. Okay,
Yes.
into my domain.
Yeah.
So I pick up this much knowledge to reach that level. So they will also have to. So here they've been very fair. They've been fair with him, with self, that I do not have this. So if I have to reach here, I have to learn this much. So I think somewhere they have to introspect. Okay, comparing with their maybe contemporaries. Okay, in terms of people skill, and be fair with self, that what I do not have, which
Yes.
person of my level should have. Once you do
Yes.
a fair gap analysis, then I'm sure they are good enough to find various resources which are available today. Online resources, there are courses, there are counseling centers. Okay,
Yes.
where you can pick up these skills. They're not
Yes.
dearth of resources. But what one has to do is one has to accept it that I am harsh. One has to accept it. I am not good at communicating with people. I'm too strong. One has to accept it
Yes.
that yes, I do my job properly, but I forget what my person going through his personal life.
Yes.
So unless you be fair with yourself, by developing this, ultimately you are growing. Okay, so
Mm.
if you be fair with yourself in your assessment to find your gaps, okay, in your people skill, I'm sure they are smart enough to, if they can pick up their domain gaps, they can fill these gaps as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I think that self awareness being realistic about
Yes,
where you
absolutely.
need to grow is
Yes.
really important. Um, I loved what you mentioned earlier about the two different types of empathy. Can you talk a bit more about that? You mentioned cognitive empathy and emotional empathy.
Right.
Tell me about cognitive empathy.
See, cognitive empathy is basically uh, through your uh, experience into your domain, or as a leader, it gives you some kind of a skill where you can identify a person's potential to grow. Okay. Now
Yeah.
that may not be converted into matrices. Key, like what is this on? They can't be measured on a scale, right?
Yes.
But definitely they reach to a conclusion. Yes, this guy can be grown. Now that's a
Mhm.
skill which comes over a period of time. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you counsel that person that boy, you have this potential to grow, but to grow this, you have to do this. Okay, instead
Yeah.
of he doing a gap analysis, you tell him the gap that you
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
here. You can go here, but you have to go to this road. All
Yes.
right. So that's a cognitive empathy where you are trying to identify somebody's potential, guiding him through and taking him through. Emotional
Mm.
empathy is something where you think about his personal life or personal surroundings that
Yes.
uh, currently your emotional level is here because of surroundings you have. So if you handle these surroundings like this, you'll be able to reach this level which is required for your growth. Okay, now in that,
Yes.
not everybody can help himself. You have to become the person who is going to help that person. In cognitive gap, individual has to work hard, somebody show the road, he has to work
Yes.
hard himself. But in emotional empathy, help has to be extended by the person who is dealing with.
Mm. Yeah. I think that's really helpful. What about? I know one of the things you're really passionate about is teams. So, for a leader out there who's leading a team and wants to build a better team, a higher performance team, higher standards, and a healthy team where people care about one another, what do you think are keys to building a team?
See, I would say that well-being is very important aspect that a leader to uh, get the team on the task, he has to achieve the engagement levels. Okay, unless team is engaged into the organization goal, the result won't come out. Now for that to achieve that engagement, unless a well-being of a person of the team is not taken care, like somebody is worried, my wife is hospitalized in the hospital and I'm doing this job, he won't be able to concentrate, right? Or somebody is going through financial stress and he is expected, okay, you go and fight war, he won't be. Okay,
Yes.
so that is why the people skill comes into play here, where through your HR policies or through your people policies, you have to have some. Now talk about on the organization level things. You have to do a study that what kind of well-being needs this particular team or this particular location or this particular plant or this particular branch needs. The people who are working there, you take care of their well-being part, their engagement score will definitely go high, and you'll get the results. I've done PhD in, I've done a doctorate, and my subject was measuring well-being through employee engagement. And in that, when I did about study on about 2,500 people of 15 different organizations,
Yes.
I was amazed. I was amazed to see, John, that there are about 10 odd drivers of employee engagement. Okay,
Yes.
but firstly, they all are not applicable to all situations. Second thing, you cannot just pick up and apply them Okay. What I found was every location, every unit, every plant had different drivers.
Wow.
Okay. Somewhere, the social connect which they were losing because of the remotely location of the plant was a well-being aspect. Somewhere, people had problem even about the food which was available in the unit. Okay, because organization thought give them the best food in the world, but he doesn't want that. He wants his local food which he enjoys, right? So I could find this
Yes.
kind of aspects which are affecting well-being of people. So otherwise, normally what normally happens is when these promoters of organization they keep traveling here and there. So in India, I'm telling Indian scenario. Generally, what how things happen. Promoter goes on a travel to Europe, and he goes for 4 5 companies. Say, oh, this is good HR policy. This is good HR policy. He'll come and tell his HR leader, okay, boy, I got this 5 good policy. You implement this. Okay. Now the
Yes.
HR leader will come, sir. I will implement this, but I would need this much budget. He will say, no, no, I can't give you this much budget. You instead of 5, you do only 3. So he applies 3, but actually it doesn't give result because you have not tried to find out what some people need. Okay, so unless you do a complete survey, unless you understand what your people need to reach the well-being level, they will not get
Yes.
engaged. This is what my thesis was all about, and was a great learning.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. Um, so you need to find out what your people need. So how do you find out
Yes,
what your people need?
it is definitely through various surveys, through interactions, through personal touch. Okay, surveys by the HR managers, survey by the supervisors, surveys through the personal connect or various you can say various forums or various discussions. Okay, you should try to find out what takes this team or this organization or this unit to well-being level.
Yes. And what? So do you recommend a survey of the people who are there? Is that the best way to find out?
Yes, yeah, I feel
What
surveys are
sort of
very, very
questions
effective.
did you ask in your survey for your PhD?
You
What sort of
basically
questions were you asking?
see, you have to know there's a range of personal needs, okay, which every individual has. Okay, one is social
Yes.
connectivity, another is financial connectivity. So thirdly is emotional satisfaction, career satisfaction, and career growth. So there are number of list of drivers which affect the well-being. So you
Yes.
form the questions based on those, and as per the response from them. Okay, so I give one example. During my
Yes.
research, I found there was a guy whose well-being level was very high, but he was still not engaged.
Oh wow.
You know why? You know why? You know why? Because
No, why?
he was not an ambitious person. Okay, he was
Yes.
happy that my office is just 10 minutes walk from here, and the
Yeah.
salary which I'm getting, I'm okay with this. My children are settled abroad; they're well educated. I don't need any more money. Okay, so he was very happy, no worries. So he used to be busy in his personal interest, but not doing a job that is required by the company. So even these kind of examples come out, and when we do this kind of research and surveys, that people must have reached the well-being level, but still not engaged. So
Yes.
ultimately as a leader, what you have to achieve is well-being level, but then see that well-being is converted into engagement level.
Mm.
Okay, which takes the team to organization goals. Only well-being doesn't serve purpose unless it's converted into engagement level.
And so, what was the disconnect for him? Why wasn't well-being turning into engagement for that employee?
See, as I said that here these two level where his office was just 10 minutes distance, he can walk to his home, no
Yes.
requirement of traveling 2 hours here and there. Okay, his children were already well settled. They all were well educated, well settled, married. Okay, he had
Yes.
no further social needs. Okay, what he needed was remain engaged, do something 9 to 5, and reach home.
Yes.
And he had no ambition that I want to become general manager or I want to become managing director. He said, I'm okay, whatever I've reached, I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
So this kind of people, despite having high score of well-being, they're not engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do if someone has someone like that on their team? How would you lead that person?
See, in that case, you have to make a choice whether you would like to retain this kind of people also, or you want everybody to be ambitious. Okay, so such people can be given a role which really does not require too much of thinking, planning, or
Yes.
too much of skills. Okay, they can be given. There are so many tasks which can be given to this kind of people.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You mentioned the 10 different factors. Do you remember? I know it's probably been a while since you did your PhD. Do you remember some of them? Are you able to tell me about some of those factors? I know you mentioned a couple in
Yeah,
passing.
yeah. As I said that uh, the first thing is that what kind of leader I'm working under. What is his vision and
Mm,
what is his mission? That's very very important. Okay.
yes.
Second thing is what is my career growth prospects here? What I'm learning from a leader? What is my compensation here? Okay,
Yes.
and whether my personal needs are being taken care or not. Okay, what is my compensation? Growth prospects here. Okay, whether I've got a lateral and vertical learning prospects or not. How is my teammates going to be? What is the work culture in the organization? So there are this kind of factors which are there which affect the engagement.
I love that you started with what sort of leader are you working for in terms of their vision and mission, because I always say to teams that the leader is the ceiling. The leader
Right.
sets the bar. That if your leader, what I hear you saying is that if that vision and mission is low, then that can have a significant impact on the well-being of the people in that team.
Absolutely. It is the leader who sets the ball rolling. As I said that in today's time, leader has to lead by example. You cannot demand that I'm a managing director, you come and listen to me. No. You have to lead by examples. You have to exhibit that what you want your team to do, you are doing before them. And so second thing, uh, you have to lead from the front basically.
And what does that look like? What does it look like to lead by example and to lead from the front? How do you do that?
As I said that if you want your team should be a dedicated team, disciplined team, professionally competent, okay, fundamentally strong, okay, then you have to have that in you as well. Now times have gone where designations give you command. It is what you are. Every teammate today looks up to your leader. That when I'm working with him, what I'm learning from him.
Mm.
Okay, what kind of personal touch I'm getting from him, what kind of emotional touch I'm getting from him. Like these
Yeah.
days, you must have heard about EQ and SQ. Okay, earlier it was only emotional quotient, but now it's a social quotient also. How the guy has been surrounded by the kind of people, how their personal lives have been touched upon, very very important. So now,
Yeah.
uh, after IQ, again I go back to the history, 70s 80s period, 1970s and 80s. IQ was the thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
then EQ came in, and then the new
Yeah.
thing is social quotient, SQ, that has come in. So with the time, the human needs are changing, human priorities are changing.
Yeah.
Okay, and their expectations from a leader are increasing day by day. That's why it's becoming very very challenging for a leader to really lead a team very very effectively. And unless he has this in him and he exhibit this, things don't work. That is why I find so many guys studied from top colleges, being top rankers, they fail miserably because somewhere they lacked people skill. While you
Yeah.
may find
Yeah.
a lot of people who studied in very average colleges, did very average, but because they had
Yes.
very good people skill, they've been successful. So this is how it is.
What is social quotient? Social quotient. I haven't heard of SQ before. What is social quotient?
Social quotient is basically knowing the person's social need, in the sense that when he's working, okay, how his team is treating him, and what is the role the leader is playing into it, and when he's being given a task, or when he's deployed on a kind of assignment, whether his situation at home level, at office level, is being considered or not,
Yes.
whether he's being given right amount of encouragement, motivation, and recognition or not.
Mm-hmm.
These are
Yeah.
basically social things which people do expect.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of our catch up with Dr. Vipul Saxena. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. There's been some great nuggets. Thank you, Vipul, for sharing those. And I just want to encourage all of our listeners and those who are watching to stay tuned for our future Leadership Conversations podcast. I have some exciting guests lined up. And so make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening or watching, and so that you can stay in touch. And also go to consultclarity.org. That's consultclarity.org. And all of our 7 questions are on there with 1,500 leaders. If you're interested and passionate about leadership, then our passion is to invest in you to become the very best leader you can be. So hopefully you can find what you need on our website and with us. So thank you so much for listening. It's been great to spend time with you. Also, a massive thank you to Vipul for spending the time with me. And we'll catch you next time.